top reps don't want to do what the rest of the team does.
We were talking before, you made an interesting comment and said attribution is dead. So let's unpack then what you mean by that. What are you most excited about from a go-to-market perspective?
Releasing the two products, becoming the center and the brain of revenue teams in B2B, and then moving away from attribution.
So a lot of people are still talking about it, but I don't think many people in B2B have done it that well. Curious how you made that work.
The biggest mistake that I see with influencer marketing is...
Hello, welcome to B2B Revenue Leaders. I'm your host, Dustin Tysick. On this episode, I'm joined by Emir Atli, who is the co-founder and CRO at HockeyStack. So if you're a B2B marketer, you've probably heard about HockeyStack. They grew very quickly. They're still growing quickly. It's one of those B2B brands that always seems to be ahead of the curve a little bit when it comes to new channels and strategies. So we talk about how they continually manage to do that, and we unpack some of Emir's key strategies around influencer marketing and attribution. Hey, Emir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I know a lot of people, they think of HockeyStack, they think attribution. And when we were talking before, you made an interesting comment and said attribution is dead. So let's unpack then what you mean by that.
Yeah, so when we looked at our data, 86 to 90% of our customers, when they first come to HockeyStack, they usually say, I want to buy a tool like HockeyStack so that I can have a better attribution, understand what's working, what's not working, and give credit to like certain channels, certain touch points and pages, all that kind of stuff. And then when we look at our data after like a couple months of using, maybe like a quarter, almost none of them use it that way. They use it as a data exploration platform where you can see like, okay, for mid-market audiences, at this ACV, what are the buyer journeys, what's working, what's not working, so that I can do more of that rather than attribute dollars to a channel or attribute dollars to a team. So the thing that we are trying to overcome right now is attribution as a word means attributing something to something else, usually a dollar to touch point. We have been developing tools and a very large product basically understand the entire buyer journey so that we can make better decisions rather than doing attribution and attribute dollars to touch points. So that was like the biggest learning that we have seen over the last couple of years with the market and how customers use HockeyStack, especially as companies grow. I think they understand the value of it even better because we see this most in our enterprise segment, usually after like 100 million, 150 million ARR customers, they use it this way. And then our smaller customers, as they start growing with HockeyStack, they understand the value even more.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think marketers get that, or most marketers get that. But I do wonder if part of it is they have to convince their CFO to let them spend money, and the CFO knows what attribution is. They go that route because I've worked at funded companies before, and a lot of times it is like, how much do you spend on this thing? And then how much revenue did it bring in? And it's simplified to a spreadsheet, which that's just not how real life works though.
Yeah, I mean, there are always, like, for example, if you're marketing it, I always talk about the same thing. You cannot just say credit doesn't matter because your sales teams, half of their salary depends on credit, especially SDRs. Your marketing team, I'm seeing, we do the same thing too. Our marketing team has an OT in their salary. So they need some sort of credit. I think the most important thing for it is the credit system changes as the company grows, as you mature and as you have more channels. If you're a startup with one channel for marketing and then just like 2 SDRs, that's really easy to give credit, also give like compensation fairly. But as you grow, like if you have 100 SDRs and a team of 25 marketers with 20 different channels, then it gets harder. I think what we see with our customers is just like alignment between the C-suite and the executives so that they can choose how to basically give credit to certain teams and they can stick with that and don't argue basically.
Yeah, that's probably a problem you've had to solve internally, right? Because I know your initial go-to-market was a lot through LinkedIn, which historically is not the easiest to actually track, right? Like anecdotally it is pre-HockeyStack, pretty tough. So how have you adapted to that? Like, is it as simple as using your own tool to figure out how to divide that up, or what did you do along the way?
Yeah, right now, as we grow our SDR team and as we diversify, as you said, we first started LinkedIn, then we diversified with other paid channels, then we have LinkedIn social. Now we do like dinners. Just last night we had a CMO dinner in San Francisco. We sponsor events, like we have a couple events in Inbound, one in Dreamforce. We do a lot of stuff right now. So how we do it is for SDRs, it's basically meaningful engagement for a deal that booked a second call, which is our qualification. Meaningful engagement, meaning if you like sent everyone emails, that's not like how you get credit. And meaningful engagement is a conversation over the phone or like you reply to an email, stuff like that. And then for marketing, we use a similar method with using HockeyStack to understand how marketing is increasing conversion rates and a mix of attribution models.
Gotcha. Okay. And does that ever, curious if you ever run into where just so many people are kind of owed attribution on the deal, like especially with larger complex cycles, like it might have been, there was a meaningful SDR conversation. There were also 15 marketing touch points from different teams. So how do you work through that?
Yeah, so SDR basically gets the credit when that opportunity becomes a qualified meeting, which is second call. And then marketing for HockeyStack, marketing is a revenue goal and a pipeline goal. So they get credit if there's, we measured with a combination of lift reports and attribution models. So based on the model, if they hit their pipeline targets, like 100%, they get 100% of the OT. If it's 90%, 90% of the OT. That's how we do it. I also see, again, from our customers, some of our customers have revenue goal for marketing, which also makes sense. Works especially for smaller marketing teams when there's no like a SVP, like a VP sales. If you have like, if you're more marketing led, that makes a lot of sense because your VP marketing can own like a revenue target rather than a pipeline target. That also works well. Just depends on the company stage, but I think it's really fun as you grow, as you have more people, and as you like go through these changes, especially if it helps the company. It's really fun, and it's something that every leader should tackle and should really work on.
For sure. Yeah. And you mentioned like as you grow, I know, like I said, you all started heavily on LinkedIn, and then I know influencer marketing was a big part of it. Now partnerships, events. So it seems like part of the go-to-market is, hit a channel before it hits that point of diminishing returns where everyone is using it. So I am curious, like this upcoming year, what are you most excited about from a go-to-market perspective?
As we were just talking about, HockeyStack raised $20 million to launch 2 new products and accelerate our R&D on attribution. We are releasing an ABM product to directly compete with the traditional ABM platforms, and we're releasing a sales intelligence product to directly compete with, and there are not many tools in that category yet, but basically signals for outbound and automating the workflows that's going to be living in HockeyStack. So the most important thing for me for next year, like Q4 of this year, is releasing the 2 products. Some of our customers have been already using it and they love it. Releasing those products and becoming the center and the brain of revenue teams in B2B, and then moving away from attributions is something that I've been working on myself for a very long time. With our new board members, we basically want to own and define a new category of B2B marketing and sales stack that's been coming for a long time, powered by technology. So far, all the marketing and sales tech products are like a little bit like 10% better than what was available before. What new technology allows us to do with LLMs and big data is basically getting all this data from different platforms and putting them on a timeline so that we can turn them into insights like outbound, for ABM, for attribution use cases. And that's something that I've been really excited about, and we have been working really hard for it.
Nice. Yeah, the signal approach in particular is really interesting because I don't think there's a marketer or a seller out there who doesn't get that. I just feel it hasn't been done that well. Like a lot of times these signals end up being this black box thing where me, maybe as skeptical marketer, doesn't believe if it's a real signal or not. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't trust some technology or company as much as I should, or maybe I shouldn't trust them. Yeah. But is that part of your thinking here? Because I know you're focusing on what's working, what's not, and HockeyStack as a tool is very transparent for that. So is that part of what you're solving for as well, as making the signals actually real and actionable?
This has been coming up a lot with like everyone that I talk to, and every single person says, especially sales leaders, so this product will be for mainly sales leaders. They always say top reps don't want to do what the rest of the team does. So if you have like an account scoring model, you don't see what's behind it. It's like black box, and top sales reps won't believe that, and then they will do something else. So it's not scalable, and you don't know what they do because average reps and low performing reps just take a look at the accounts that they need to reach out to, and they reach out. The difference with HockeyStack is going to be because we started in the attribution and reporting part of the business, not like account scoring or ABM. You can see if it says 92 account score, you can click on it to see the summary, the journey, and why. So they can personalize it. While ABM platforms start on the other side, they start with like display ads and account scoring. It's impossible to get back to reporting and buyer journeys because the tool is not built that way. So that's like the technological advancement that we will provide to the market.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I would imagine you mentioned some customers are already using it. That probably means you guys, of course, are using your own tool. So I'm curious how having some of these new insights, I guess, have changed your go-to-market, or like what has changed with these new tools?
Yeah. So our outbound mainly runs on the data that we collect on HockeyStack. So what we do is we have like different buckets on like closeouts opportunities, for example. Anytime a closeouts opportunity from 90 days and more comes to the website, checks out anything, we got alerted from HockeyStack, and we just like call them, email them, everything. There's like one bucket, and they close really fast because they already know HockeyStack. The other part is pure outbound. For that, we have G2, we have third-party intent, we have first-party intent from like LinkedIn, website, and everything else collected on HockeyStack. And we do most of our outbound on that rather than prospecting. And then we match that with our target account list, which is a mix of like call 100 and lookalikes of our customers, which is a list on HockeyStack so that we can track their engagement. So that's like how we run outbound.
Yeah, I would imagine too, like the fact that you did the hard work of building a brand upfront and all of that probably helps a lot, because there's certain brands where if I get an email from them, I'm at least going to reply, even if I'm not a fit. So I think that's something where people often go wrong is they kick up outbound initially, spam the hell out of everyone without any brand presence. So I'd imagine that maybe intentional strategy, or maybe it's kind of just the way the go-to-market develop, but I imagine that has helped quite a bit.
Yeah, hopefully we are a brand that you would respond to. But yeah, in my very, very early days, I did the exact opposite and it failed miserably. So this time, I did the opposite way. If you're new, if you reach out to people, no one responds. So you need to do the hard work before.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost too easy to scale outbound now in a poor way. So I think that's why, personally, that's why I'm excited about signal-based stuff, and we're dipping our toes in our go-to-market in that space for that exact reason. Like the old kind of spray and pray thing is just too easy to do. Like any company can come along, spin up 100 email addresses and send out thousands of emails a day. So it's, finding that real intent first and then doing the reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I guess one other thing I did want to talk about, because a lot of people are still talking about it, but I don't think many people in B2B have done it that well, is the influencer marketing side of things. And I know that's something you all did pretty early, I think, compared to most. So curious how you made that work, because I know a lot of people dip their toes, do one campaign, and then kind of dip out and never have success. So how did you approach that differently? And how has that worked for you?
Yeah, so influencer marketing is really interesting because, as you said, we were one of the earliest adopters. We started doing it early 2023. And so last year, it was like, if you know people, you would be able to do it. If you don't know those influencers, if you don't have a network, you would not be able to do it. And I've been fortunate to be in those circles. And it was really, really cheap last year. So because most influencers, if you reach out to them and say, hey, I want to pay X amount of dollars for you to post about HockeyStack, then they would be like, wow, I didn't even know that I was an influencer. Yeah. Now everyone is an influencer. Like if you have 5,000 followers, you're an influencer. So last year worked great. It was incredible, really cheap, lots of signups, lots of demo requests, everything. This year, there are like agencies popping up, and they're like influencer management companies, SaaS platforms. It's like everywhere right now. And it's getting easier and easier, which is good and bad. Good because you can reach out to people if you don't know them, but also it's getting harder to be on the feed with an interesting message because everyone else is on the feed as well. How we made it successful was, one, we were early, which is something you cannot replicate right now, but two, we had an interesting message with every influencer. I think that helped a lot, and we worked really hard to fit our message into their personality. Just the biggest mistake that I see with influencer marketing is like working with an influencer that's not great on video, like forcing them to do a video which doesn't get any engagement, or like forcing an influencer that's great on video to do a text post, or forcing an influencer that's in marketing to post about the sales tech product, stuff like that doesn't work. So you need to fit your message into the influencer's personality. And then the third thing that I learned was we started with like a bunch of influencers and we were doing one-off posts. It's like post about HockeyStack once every 4 months. Rather than doing that, we started targeting broader engagements. Like, for example, what we do with X5 and Dave Garrett is a great example of it. We did this is our third quarter over the last 2 years. The first 2 quarters, we were doing like one-off posts. Now we do like a newsletter, in between a LinkedIn post, we're preparing for a webinar. So like as the audience engages with your posts and with your content, if you can turn it into webinar signups, or if you can turn it into, website visits, stuff like that, that helps a lot. So now our main goal is to engage with an audience and then turn them into an even more engaged audience with like a offer. And then the last thing that I want to mention, I think this is really important, is, I mean, there's no easy way for this. I have a hacker on our marketing team who's doing it. I don't know how, but in the beginning, in the early days, we had a couple of influencers that had a really big audience overlap with us. And it took me a really long time to figure out why we are not able to get like more engagement from this person or like these people, these influencers. And then someone from our team checked that in, because me and this person, or like someone from our team and this person, or like these influencers, we have like a 60% overlap in our audience. So when I post versus this person posts, same people see it. So we don't get anything new. So finding influencers that target the same ICP with a less overlap is really useful.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one that people probably haven't thought of, because I could see people intuitively thinking the more overlap, the better, right? Because they would view that as a line, but then you're right, the reach goes down. And I do just want to highlight too, the personality part, like you talked about a little bit, is important, because I see, you mentioned Exit 5. So let's say Dave Gerhardt makes a post. You can kind of tell when it's in his voice and when someone wrote it and told him to post it. And I feel like that doesn't work, because like for me, my banner blindness advertising thing goes off like, yeah, that's not real, I'm going to ignore that. So is that something you focused on as well, of like actually working with the person so it sounds like them and, you know, something their followers can actually relate to?
Yeah, he's actually really careful about it. I feel like they got better at it as well. He always edits his posts. He's great. Some people just copy and paste it. He always edits his posts to make it his own voice. And he rejects anyone who's forcing him to post something that he wouldn't write or he wouldn't post.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference when you feel like it's actually coming from that person. And then we're almost at time here. So I think last thing I do just want to talk about is something else you mentioned before we started, is demand gen being overrated. And like real quick, I kind of want to get your thoughts on that, because you look at HockeyStack and it looks like you all are doing demand gen, right? With the LinkedIn approach. So I'm curious what you mean there. Like, is it more the capture side or just the general approach of putting it out and not measuring? And yeah, where are you coming from there?
Yeah, so I think demand gen is like literally what marketing means. If you go back to 4Ps of marketing or stuff like that, it's literally the same thing. You engage with an audience, you get their attention, then as they see you over and over again, they want to learn more, so they come to you. It's literally the same thing. Lead gen, the problem with lead gen is the offer. So like, for example, we have a lot of assets on our website gated. Our like interactive demo is gated, which is our prime asset. And people put their email address to check it out because it's interesting. It's not like state of the MarTech vendors report, which I would never put my email address in. But if it's like an interesting thing, for example, I do like last week I did it, a couple months ago I did it again. Something like, this is how we did X, and I will share how I'm doing it step by step. Comment on my post and I will send it to you. Or like, give me your email address and I will send it to you. Like, this is an interesting offer that you would send your email address, and then I would send it to you because you trust me, and then there's a great asset. I think that's one. And then the second thing is literally, again, it's literally what marketing means. Like, dimension is equal to marketing, and it's not like a secret weapon. And it's literally what marketing people are supposed to do. So I think it's really overrated. It's been used. This is going to be a big hot take, but from what I see from some prospects, sometimes people that I work with, or as a customer, or like in general marketing world, dimension has been an excuse for poor performance. Even like agencies, you ask them, our pipeline is not growing, we are not hitting our targets, why? And then they're saying we're generating demand. Like, what does that mean? Like, if you're gonna wait for 4 or 5 quarters to generate demand and they will come back magically, I don't buy that. Like, if dimension is an excuse for agencies to not perform, if marketers to not perform, then that's the problem for like getting fired, or like shorter tenure as a CMO, as a VP marketing. That's the problem. So you cannot use it as an excuse, because that's what marketing is supposed to do. Everything that we do is probably constitute dimension, which is for me just marketing. HockeyStack is an interesting brand, have a good product, good testimonials, social proof, good content. People want to learn more. They check out our website, contact sales, learn about the product, and buy. It's like marketing 101. It's not dimension. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, I've made a similar front end here before, and I think it's partly the pendulum just swung too far. Like, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, performance marketing, because it was really easy to just put money into Google, get people to buy your stuff. It's not like that anymore. So people are going back to, traditional marketing. But, slapping a new name on something makes it easier to sell your services, right? So I think that definitely becomes a little bit part of it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if if people want to, like everything we talked about here is stuff you talk about on LinkedIn. You're pretty open on there about what HockeyStack's doing. So if people do want to follow along, be part of the journey, where should they go to either learn about more about HockeyStack or connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, this is best. DM me anytime if you want to ask any questions, chat, anything like that. Like, again, as you said, I'm pretty open. Yeah, this was a great conversation. Thank you, Dustin.
Cool. Thanks, Emir. Take care. Thanks for listening to this episode. My key takeaway is really just the point about HockeyStack being less about attribution and more about understanding of the buyer's journey, and then really using that info and determining where to place your chips. So, I mean, if only marketing was as easy as put $1 here, you get $3 out, it's not. So unpacking that entire journey, really understanding it, plus using your own intuition on top of that is a great combo to have a higher success rate in your revenue plays. If you enjoyed this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review, or hit follow on Spotify. And as always, I'll be back on Tuesday with a new episode.